Hello and welcome to another webinar by Actio. Today we'll be looking at how to explore the potential of AI in strategy execution, right? Focus on AI supporting methodologies like OKRs, balanced scorecard, goal cascading, and project management. This event is sponsored by Actio. Actio is a software company that provides integrated platforms to support corporate management processes like strategy execution and performance management, risk management, um, variable compensation and alignment with strategy, right? And people performance as well, people assessment and performance assessment, right? Uh, and I am Guilherme Barbassa, Actio's CEO. Well, let's go through the organization of the event here so that many people are new to our webinar. And I've noticed that our audience is very diverse, right? We have people from all over the world, from the US to South Africa, Australia, Germany, United Arab Emirates, India, and also across many industries, from hospitals to government to manufacturing. So we have a very rich uh, uh, context here, and I hope we contribute to adding value to you guys and expect you also to interact with us and ask questions and add comments to what we're presenting to make this event richer for everybody, right? Um, the chat is on, so if you want to interact, you can interact through the chat, right? Asking questions directly in the chat or using Slido. So in the chat, you'll find a link to Slido where you can put your questions in there. But if you also want to just use the chat, feel free to do so. I'll be monitoring the chat throughout the event and trying to answer as many questions as possible throughout the event. And we're also going to save a few minutes in the end to directly answer some of the questions that haven't been addressed, right? This event is being recorded so that if you want to share it with someone else or watch it later, and for people that registered and couldn't make it to the event, we will send the recording via email to all of you if you want to access it. Well, the structure of the event will be, first we'll just create some context for you about AI, about the case example that we prepared to you. And then we're going to dive into the software and show how it is used in practice, in reality, in the day-to-day of strategy execution in this case, and performance management. And as I said, in the end, we're gonna save a few minutes for Q&A. To help us, show the software, we have today Gustavo Russo. Gustavo is product management manager for Tune, the software that we're going to show today. So he's the brains behind the software, right? Welcome, Gustavo. And we also have Hitachi Tambori. Hitachi is the one that designed the AI interface and integration of the artificial intelligence with the software. So feel free to ask her questions also and interact with all of us, right? Well, let's get to it then. I'll share my screen and I'll do this initial context with you guys. All right, so AI is very much on everybody's minds today and is penetrating every process, right? Operational, tactical, or strategic processes in the companies. Today, we're going to talk specifically about strategy execution and how AI can support um, strategy execution in the companies and touch on specific methodologies like OKR, balanced scorecard, goal cascading, and project management, right? Right. So AI. AI is in the hype, right? High expectations, but also lots of uncertainties still. Um, this is an Accenture study I'm bringing you guys. Um, 84% of C-level executives recognize that they must leverage artificial intelligence in their organizations to reach their growth objectives, right? So they recognize the importance of the role of artificial intelligence in the future and to sustain growth in the company. Uh, and these same executives believe that without AI, their business actually they run the risk of going out of business. So it's of extreme importance. But 76% of them report that they actually struggle on how to scale AI into the organization, right? How to put it in practice, integrated with their processes, right? So this is pretty scary stuff because they're saying that they might go out of business, but the path ahead isn't very clear, right? If they for them to implement and scale AI. And we can see this in practically all corporate management processes, a kind of 1, 2, 3 generation step. Usually, the corporate management processes start with what we call manual or like first generation. Manual is not actually manual. It's using Excel to support these processes, using PowerPoint, using, sending out emails, reminding people to conduct the process. Uh, some organizations use Power BI or some other form of BI that isn't actually designed to run a process. They're designed to provide information and provide analytics and deep insight into data, but not execute a process, right? But that's usually how companies start when they start automation of corporate management processes. And the first step is the second step, actually, like the second generation, would be a digital integrated process. That is a process like strategy execution or risk management uh, that is supported by a software, right? This increases transparency, reliability, reduces the amount of time people have to dedicate to the process to make it run, increases analysis and effectiveness. And this is how most companies of mid to large size enterprise companies have their processes today. In some level, being supported by software apps, SaaS applications, right? And executing the process on top of these software. What I consider the third generation or the transformation that we're seeing today is going from digital integrated processes to AI-powered digital integrated processes. This AI supported process makes it possible to have more engagement with the people, with the users involved, have even more effectiveness and even less man hours dedicated to running these processes. So the idea today is to show you an example, an applied example of this third generation AI digital integrated process. And this example, we created a fictional company here just to show you, like, without bringing in or disclosing any information from clients. So the company we created is Fin and Back Services from Canada, and they provide operational back office services to leading clients in the country's financial sector, focusing on customer satisfaction under established service contracts. So it's a company, and this is important because this is context that the AI will use while interacting with the users in the software, right? So this is relevant to the story that you're going to see today in the example, right? And they are facing a problem, a decrease in EBITDA, and we'll see how this can be dealt with using the strategy execution software and interfacing with AI. All right, to prepare this example for you, we structured or an organizational structure in the software. We created some examples of users and employees in the software. So we registered employees. We created examples of strategic maps, strategic objectives, KPIs connected to these strategic objectives, and these KPIs cascading from strategic KPIs to tactical KPIs, all the way down to operational KPIs. And for each KPI, we attributed targets and actual values. So, of course, we call it actual values, but of course, they're fictional, right? They're not real. And we also created a few projects in this supporting this strategy, where we can interface with the projects as well, right? Well, what are we going to see today then? We talked about the pre-configured base for Tune. Tune is the name of the strategy execution module. We're going to take a look at the strategic map that was created, the goal cascading from the strategic map. We're going to take a look at some projects. So here we already have interface with AI and some OKRs measuring these projects, as well as some KPIs, action plans, and deviation analysis from these KPIs. We're probably not going to be able to see all of this interface in detail, but we are going to dive deeper into OKRs and how the software can support the OKRs creation and the key results, proposed key results, and support the final user in defining key results, and also deviation analysis. So if we have some KPI that has its goal not being met, how does the software support the user in analyzing what's going on? What are the causes for that deviation, so that he can create corrective action in the strategic plan, right? So we have many interface of AI in the software, but we're going to start with OKRs, see some deviation analysis, and if we have some more time, see maybe action plan or projects. Let's see how many questions you guys come up with and how the interaction is going to see how far can we show this example. All right. Well, I'll call Gustavo then and Hitachi to come in and navigate the software, showing us this case that we created for fin and back services. Thank you all, and just reminding, I'm going to be checking the chat and interacting with both Gustavo and Hitachi, transmitting them your questions, as well as saving some time in the end for questions. So feel free and to put in your questions both in the chat and in Slido. Gustavo.
Okay, I'm gonna take over again. Just let me share my screen with you guys. So if you guys can see it, just give me thumbs up. Guilherme, touch.
We can see you.
Okay. All right. So as Guilherme said, we have created a scenario here based on fin and back services, which is our customer in this case. And the first screen that we see here is strategic map. So if we're going to consider a client that's using a balanced scorecard methodology, which is pretty common. So they consider 4 perspectives, right? Financial, client, internal processes, and learning growth. And in this case, we're going to structure it all around one strategic objective in this case, which is add value to the shareholder. As you guys can see, Guilherme has said that some goals could be achieved and some goals have not been met. So in this case, if a goal has not been met, it's going to show a red light on the sides, right? So for example, increased net income has achieved its goal for the period that we're looking for. So it has the green light, but add value to the shareholder has not. And in this case, I'm gonna try to think through this to why does this happen? Why did this happen? Why is it the goal has not been met in this case, right? So for this, we're going to go to the relationship screen for us to see what's impacting in this strategic objective, right? And in this case, we can see that we have some KPIs that are linked to this objective, right? So as you guys can see, add value to the shareholder is made up of 2 KPIs, which is EBITDA margin and EBITDA in this case. So for our study case, we were looking for a decrease in EBITDA. Why is it happening, right? So we're looking for this KPI, and we can also, as you guys can see, create the whole dynamic here and link all the strategy in the software. So we can link KPIs to the objective, a project, which is this one strategic initiatives, to the objective itself. And in this case, we can see that EBITDA is also with a red light. So that means that its goal has not been met, right? So we're gonna go even further and think through what's EBITDA being made up of. So we can see that EBITDA, we have OpEx, expense, revenue, and we also have a risk here, which is cash deficit. But in this case, we're going to take a closer look at revenue, right? Because as you guys can see, OpEx and expenses, they are with the green lights. In this case, their goal has been met. So in this case, revenue is the one that's not being up to par. So in this case, as you guys can see, I'm going to go another way. I'm going to go open this just for us to go even further with this option. And we can see that there's a link between all the KPIs as shown you. So we can create formulas here in the software as well. And As you guys can see for this scenario, we have the revenue, which is the total. It's made up of revenue for provinces in Canada, which are revenue British Columbia, Ontario, Alberta, Manitoba. And we also have here at the bottom, we have providing services, which is something that we were looking for in our study case. Providing services for us is a project, right? So for this project, I'm gonna create some OKRs that are linked to it. So in this case, I'm gonna go to another screen just for us to see the OKRs in the software. So for those of you who use OKRs in your day-to-day usage, so you can just see it. Well, we have here a list of areas, users, and projects, and also strategic objectives. Because in this case, when we register an objective for the software, we have to link it to an area, an user, or an item, right? So this is why we're showing this right here. But for this specific case, we're going to look at the project provider services, which was right back at our relationship screen. So in this case, when I'm going to open provider services, we already have set an objective as linked to that project, right? This objective is an objective for the OKR. And in this case, our objective is to increase cross-sell with new services, right? So for those of you who are not familiar with OKRs, so we have an objective, which is the quantitative part, and the key result, which is qualitative part. So that means that for it to have value, we're going to have to measure it. And by measuring it, we're having to use key results. So when we have to create the key result here in the software, we have some options here to add a key result. We can add it manually. So in this case, I'm just going to click it here for you guys to see, but we're going to have to add some options here in the software, right? These are mandatory for us to keep track of this key result. So we have to add a description, we have to add a responsible, we have to add a check-in, which means that it's from time to time, you're gonna register your values for this key result. The period, which it's valid. So in this case, it's always preset as a quarter, but we can expand it to whatever we want to. And also, it's important for us to put the values in here, the initial value and the final value. So it means where we're starting from up until where we're going. So these are the main points that we're going to try to look for when you're going to register a key result. But as we're talking about AI, we're going to suggest key results. So we can.
Gustavo, may I interfere a moment?
Sure.
We're going to delve into the interface of AI now, right? And identify key results using AI, right? Or identify or suggest key results to the user. But before we do that, it would be interesting for our audience to understand what's behind this AI interaction, right? How is this working? So before we do the interface itself and interact, Hitachi, can you give us a glimpse of how this interaction is happening and what's behind each of these buttons? So if the audience hasn't noticed yet, every time we have this button with could you show the button, Gustavo? Yeah, with like the brain, we have another one on top there, suggest objectives, and this is spread out through the software to suggest action plans, to suggest projects, to suggest causes for deviations, right? Every screen that we have this button, it's a possible interaction with the AI to help the user go through that phase, right, of planning. So Hitachi, what's behind this interaction?
Yes, surely I can give some information. I will share my screen to show the slide. which summarizes the concept that we have used to create each prompt for each integration touch point that you just mentioned. So, to enhance the quality of the responses that we get from the AI and the user experience itself, these are the key elements that we have considered for structuring the prompts inside the software. The first and the most important one is the context here. Why I think it's the most important one? Because uh, behind this each prompt there is ChatGPT integration, and it uses that model to generate the answer. But when we use the general ChatGPT version, the uh, the answers that we usually receive is generic. It's sometimes not relevant to the context that or the context of the company that we want to. So the very first thing we did to improve the user experience and so that our users and managers and executives who are interacting gets the information which is relevant to their company. This we provided this information already in the backend. In the software, we can register this information when Gustavo will start the interaction. Before that, he will show the screen where you can already provide the context of your company, that what's the name, what's the description of your company, what are the activities that you do, the industry your company belongs to. So this information is used in each integration touchpoint to generate relevant answers first, so that the informations are not generic. Apart from this, we also add the context of the software itself, the feature itself. So, for example, if we are using OKR, how actually Actio software, the Tune module, works for the OKR. If it's a cause analysis, what are the possibilities that of features that are available in the software? So this information, this context is available inside the each integration touchpoint, each prompt to generate relevant information. Apart from this, second element is the knowledge of the methodology itself. So uh, in, inside the software, we call Sophie a virtual consultant. Consultant, someone who has the knowledge of the subject, the methodology. There are many management methodology that are used inside the software like OKR, Balanced Scorecard, MBO, and many others. And you can use
Yeah.
any of those methodology here. And yeah,
Yeah, let me just stop you a bit just to address a question that is here on the chat from Laura. OGSM, so Objective Goal Strategy Measure methodology, is very similar to what we just showed with the cascading, right? Where you go from objectives and cascade through the KPIs, targets, and create a method to manage these targets. I think Gustavo will show further down the line, right? A little bit more detail. But yes, it's contemplated in the software, and the AI is integrated with these steps, right? The example that we're going to show is creating key results for an OKR, but you can also use the AI to support creating action plans for these measures or for these projects as well, right? So I just wanted to quick stop here just to address a question that showed here on the chat, and you're talking exactly about that, right? Methodologies that the software support.
exactly. Uh, Thank you. Yes, and that's exactly the point. There are many management methodology, and for different integration touch points inside the software, different management methodologies are used. We were going to see example of the key result right now. So what are the best practices of creating a key result? What are the main elements that are used in this methodology itself? So those are already inbuilt in the software so that you can, the quality of the answers and suggestion that you receive is to the best of the knowledge. Okay. Next element is the data analysis part. Many times we saw that there are many information already available inside the software related to one item, so that users don't have to repeat those information. We already pass those information through the prompts uh, in the chat in the APIs, so that those informations are used to generate the answer. Sometimes not all informations are available. So for that, we have a question answer dynamic where the user or the subject matter expert will provide this information so that the suggestion that they receive are more relevant. So data
Let me,
analysis, yeah.
sorry, just one point that we usually get asked at this point when you talk about the interface and the information that we're inputting in the system, right? Is what about privacy? Who's
Yeah.
going to access the information that I'm inputting into the AI, right?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Unlike the OpenAI ChatGPT pre version, or the one that is available online, whatever you put inside that ChatGPT model, that is used to train the model further and to access and to make it, to improve it. But the model that we use here, it's connected through API. And it's more like a closed version. So whatever information that we pass from the software to the model, or the interaction that user has with the Sophie, that all stays in that particular base only, and it's not used to train the actual ChatGPT OpenAI models. So users don't have to worry about that at all. If they are using the normal ChatGPT, there might be some risk, but with Sophie, this information is not used anywhere.
Just so you know, Sophie is how we named our AI in Actio. Okay.
Yeah. To further enrich the experience of the user, we have provided many guidelines in the software. So it's not just about getting suggestion that what can be the key result of this, okay, for this objective, or what can be the what are the objectives I can create. It's more like having an actual consultant talking to us, guiding your thought process, giving you suggestions, so that you can also consider things that you haven't considered before, and give you and guide your thought process to generate better key results or any other things that for which you are looking help for. So these are the main elements that we have considered to improve the user experience. Let's see now in action that when we click on the key result button, how actually these things are utilized.
Yeah.
I will hand it over to Gustavo again. And
Okay.
yeah.
Right. Thank you, Itachi. We have a couple of other good questions here in the chat, but
Yeah.
I imagine you guys are curious to see the software. Let's do this first, then we come back to the questions.
All right. So once we're back here in software, so we had the objective and we're going to suggest the key result in this case, right? So it was our moment to create this interaction with Sophie, which is our virtual consultant, which is our AI, just like Guilherme have said. So before we do that, there is a setting here in the software that we can fill in with some information regarding the name of the company, which was in this case Find Back Services, the sector that we work on, so in this case, service, and what its economic activities are. So operational back office services, financial sector, in this case. And the size of the company, which means how many employees does this company have? So we could add this information right here. So depending on the information that is input here, we could generate other, the prompt could be changed regarding this information. So once we go back here to the OKRs, I'm gonna go back here, and now is the real deal. Let's go to the interaction with Sophie. So we're gonna click here and suggest key result, and there's gonna be a conversation with Sophie. So Sophie's gonna present herself to us. So hi, I'm Sophie, Actio's virtual consultant, and I'll help you find the key result of the name of the objective, in this case, which is increase cross-sell with new services. So she's gonna guide us through this process, right? And by that, she will think through the process and think of the methodology we're working with. So in this case, as we're working with OKRs, we're gonna have objectives. So in this case, we already have the objective, and we're gonna have to generate a key result. As I said before, we have to input for the key result. We have to have a name for that key result. We have to add the values that we're starting from up until where we're going, the dates. So it's going to be measured within 3 months, 6 months, the whole year. So we can just get this through the guidance of Sophie. And also, it's going to give us some other questions, and we're going to make this conversation with her. So in this case, Sophie asked us if we could tell me what specific new services are you planning to cross-sell. So if I want to, I can just copy paste here the information. Maybe financial planning services are exactly what we're looking for to increase our cross-sell with new services. But if I wanted more examples, I could just maybe type here, generate more examples, and then it would show. But I'm going to go ahead with financial planning services because I think that one's going to work for us, right? So in this case, the user that is answering the questions have to have some knowledge, at least, of the process that they're working on, right? Because they will be the ones that know where they want to get at a point. So after that, Sophie's going to keep acting as a consultant for us. So what are the metrics, right? What are the goals that we are trying to achieve with having these key results in this case? So do we want to increase the number of clients? Do we want to increase the revenue? Do you want to increase the client retention rate, client satisfaction? So by doing that, I'm going to just put in here that I want to increase the number of clients. So I can type here in number of clients. So excellent choice. So it's going to ask us what is the current number that we have and what is our desired number by the end of where we're trying to get. So it gives us some suggestions on this. So what is the current number of clients that we have? What is the target? And for example, current clients number 50, target clients 100. So by doing that, we're going to double our current client base. So she's going to generate some stuff here. But if I want to, I can come up with the different numbers that are here, right? So let's say the current clients that we have are 30 and the target is 100. And then we have to have the time frame of where we're trying to get, right? With using the key result. So we're at 30 and we want to achieve 100 by when, right? So I want to achieve that by the end of the year, by the next 3 months, by the next 6 months. So I'm going to put here 6 months. So after that, Sophie's also going to give us some initiatives to be asked. For those of you who don't know OKRs, so initiatives are tasks that we have to do in order to achieve that key result that we're working with. So in this case, Sophie gave us some specific initiatives, right? Like marketing campaigns, referral programs, partnerships, training sales team. So I want to try them all. So I'm going to type them all of you. And then she's going to ask us the check-in, the frequency, when we are trying to measure it. So are we measuring it monthly, bi-weekly? So in this case, I'm going to measure it monthly, right? Because there are 6 measurements that we're going to take. So I type in monthly, and then comes in the final answer for Sophie. So Sophie's going to generate here the key result as part of their prompt that has been put through. So she took my ideas in this case and mixed it up with her ideas, and then we created the key results in this case, right? So our key result is increase the number of clients using financial planning services from 30 to 100 within six months. The check-in is going to be monthly, and the initial value is 30, and we're going to 100. By doing that, we can just click here in key result, and we can add it in here, right? So I can type, or I could just copy paste it here, the name of the key result in this case.
So Gustavo, just to emphasize, the Sophie isn't giving you just any key result that it generates, right? It's actually interacting with you and using your knowledge about the objective, about the processes supporting this objective to create key result propositions together, right? And not just
Exactly.
it's not an autopilot that you turn on and you go away and leave it working, right? It's an aid to the user, not a
Exactly.
substitution to the user, right?
Yeah, it's more of a conversation. You have to trade experiences here with Sophie, right? That's the point. And by putting the information in the background at the settings that we had there, it's going to create a more specific answer to what we're looking for. So that's the big thing here with Sophie. And it also here in this prompt, it generates initiatives. So the tasks that we have for to keep track of this key result, they can be put in here. So we have marketing campaigns. So what we should do, launch target marketing campaigns to promote financial planning services. So they could be added here, right? They could make a list of these initiatives. So it's following the methodology that we're using at this point.
And in the end, it's the user that accepts or not those initiatives or key results, right? So the responsibility is still with the user, right? Still with
Yeah,
the
if I
subject
wanted,
matter expert, right?
yeah, in this case, if I wanted to just keep going this conversation, let's say that I didn't find this initiatives and this key result not adequate enough. I could just type in here for Sophie to give more information and to just keep going this conversation, right?
All right.
Right?
It's an assistant. Right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the point. Yeah. Great.
We can also, I think this last part is important. We can also give a feedback on our experience with Sophie. So the user could say, oh, that I had a pretty awesome experience with Sophie. So we could share the feedback that we had with her. And that's important for us because we want to keep improving our software. So we want to keep getting the best prompts that we could in order to give even better results for our users. And one thing that Guilherme pointed out was that we have other interaction points here in software with Sophie, right? So I'm just going to briefly mention them and show them, right, very quickly, because I think we have just enough time for the questions, right?
Yeah.
So we have the option to suggest objectives. And just like on the other part, we can have a conversation with Sophie. We have the option to, I'm just going to go back to the relationship screen. So let's say that we have a deviation report and we want to find the root cause analysis, right? In this case, we have a deviation of 12,000, for example. And in this case, this one is filled in with some information as well. We could generate the causes here with Sophie, but we could also generate them by Ishikawa diagram, having a brainstorm, 5 whys, gut matrix. But the most important thing here is to, when you generate causes, we're going to have a conversation with Sophie as well. So the information that we have in the background is also going to be taken into consideration for us to use it here. Another point that we have here in the software is to generate an action plan. So Sophie could also suggest actions for the user, right? So the user could maybe be a little bit lost of what he needs to do. So Sophie could suggest an action plan or actions in this case for him. And the last thing that we have here is to, for projects, we can generate insights for projects, right? So it's going to take into consideration the scope, the cost that we have for the project, and other information as well in the background that we have already input in the software, right? So we can generate insights, and it's also going to be a conversation between the user and Sophie.
Yeah. So let me address some of the questions that are popping up here on the chat. One question is, does internal data of the company flow automatically in the software? Can we use this if the data of our company is not yet sufficiently mature? That's an excellent question. Today, we have, Hitachi could even make a deeper dive into this, but we have some information that we provide about the company to the software. We're just launching this next version. So last year we launched our first version of Sophie. We're launching now our second version that is a lot more has a lot more power to it, and we can provide a lot more information. And we're already planning on the third version. The third version, we will be able to address this problem, right? Every company has its own particularities. They're in their specific industry, they're in their specific markets. So we need to be very specific in the recommendations of how to treat a deviation or what actions should we take, right, to remove some cause. So we are starting to plan how to feed in the algorithm lots of information about the company, like the description of the company, everything that is on the site of the company, manuals, operations. We will get this book of knowledge for each company, which the company themselves will provide, and upload to each individual company so that when the user interacts with Sophie, it will be a very specific interaction, right? Hitachi, do you want to comment on this comment?
Yeah, sure. And you're correct. We are still making changes in a way that uh, we can minimize the work of the user, and most of the information is available. The better the quality and the amount of information we have, it's the answers will be better. And as you idea is also to use Sophie to build a better soft context around in the software that can help user eventually. So yes, in the future we are also considering the possibility that admin user of a particular company can change the prompt and add and remove the things based on their needs, so that it becomes more towards the context of the company, and they can get better answers. So yes, this field is with lots of possibilities, and we are exploring many more to make the user experience better.
Yeah. And this addresses partly Stephanie's question here as well. Does the software track success for initiatives across companies and use this data to make better suggestion for the next user with a similar problem? Yes, it already does in this version, right? So when we upload information about the company or about a specific project or a specific KPI, we already provided information about, like, past information about that KPI, right? So what actions were taken in the past? What causes for deviations were treated in the past, so that when the AI provides a suggestion, it's already considering all of this past information about the KPIs, projects, or whatever interaction point that you're dealing with at the moment, right? We also have a question about where does the knowledge regarding the best practices come from? So OKRs, for example, it's a common practice, or as was mentioned here, OGSM or MBO or balanced scorecard. There's so many practices, right? And for each practice, you have uh, benchmarks or best practices, right? So Hitachi, I also turn that question to you. How do we bring the best practices into the prompts and uh, reflect on the interaction that the AI has with the users?
Okay. There are two parts of this question. First, uh, when we design the software, or when we design a feature inside the software, we take into consideration, so it goes through the process of, understanding what's the best academic knowledge on that field, and we design the software on top of that. And there are many features we create around the uh, around that particular area. Suppose for OKRs, we do our analysis that what can be done to track the OKRs and key results in a best possible way. So software in itself provides a lot of context for that what we need in terms of generating a good OKR, and that's one part. And that helps a lot in getting a good answer. And the second is, there is a personas that we create for each prompt, that you are Sophie has to assume the role of what kind of consultant. OKR consultant who have knowledge in this thing, go through the best academic knowledge of that, and provide details and suggestion based on the context of the user. So there are multiple things that are taken into consideration to make sure the suggestion that they are receiving is up to the mark. Yeah.
Well, we're approaching the end of our time here. I just wanted to leave with a few messages. First one, we recorded this event, so if you want to rewatch it or forward it to someone, we're going to send it through email to everybody. Also, a couple of people here in Actio are going to reach out to you, Julia and Mariana, to see how, if you have any specific other questions, or how can we support your process or add value to your strategy execution method. So please give them your attention if you're available. And also, we're going to send out participation certificates for whoever wishes to. And we ask for whoever wants this participation certificate to click on the link that Leticia just put on the chat, fill in your information, and we will send out this certificate. And on the same link, if you don't wish the certificate, but if you could give us feedback so that we can improve on these webinars, please do so, filling in information in the same link. We will also reach out to you, sending an email with our future events, right? So every month we have 1 or 2 events. So we'll send out an email so that you can see what events interest you and just click for registration straight from the email, right? Thank you all for your participation and hope to see you in our future webinars. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.